Hey space fans! NASA's Artemis II mission is poised to take humans around the moon for the first time in over 50 years. 4 astronauts, NASA's Reid Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen of Canada, will climb aboard NASA's Orion spacecraft, which sits on top of the Space Launch System, one of the most powerful rockets ever built. You can see them here at the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex. The Artemis II journey is scheduled to take 10 days, swinging farther from Earth than any human spaceflight since Apollo 17, and looping around the moon before heading home. This isn't a landing mission. It's a proving flight. Artemis II will test the life support, communications, and deep space navigation systems, everything we'll need to live and work on the moon for real. Why does it matter? Because Artemis II is the bridge between decades of dreaming and the moment we set foot on the moon again. Artemis II is a mission unlike any other NASA has attempted this century. Its 4-astronaut crew, commanded by veteran astronaut Reid Wiseman, is the first to ride NASA's new moonship, Orion. They're also the first astronauts to ride the Space Launch System, a booster more powerful than NASA's last moon rocket, the mighty Saturn V. And they're the first astronauts to circle the moon since 1972, when NASA's last Apollo crew said farewell to the lunar surface on Apollo 17, the final crewed moon landing flight of the 20th century.
Vector good. X5.
Artemis II will lift off from NASA's historic Launch Complex 39B at the Kennedy Space Center near Cape Canaveral, Florida. And it's a fitting launch site. Launch Complex 39B's first mission was Apollo 10, a launch in 1969 that sent 3 astronauts to the moon in a dress rehearsal for the historic Apollo 11 moon landing mission by Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins later that same year. The Skylab space station and Apollo-Soyuz test mission between the US and the Soviet Union also launched from the pad. Artemis II, meanwhile, is also a dress rehearsal for an astronaut landing on the moon. NASA's Artemis IV mission, the first of many lunar landings that the agency plans to develop a long-term base at the moon's south pole. The Artemis II astronauts will spend about 1 day in orbit testing the Orion spacecraft's life support and other vital systems to ensure that they are ready for the long voyage to the moon. While Orion and the Space Launch System have both flown to the moon before, during the uncrewed Artemis I flight of 2022, that test flight did not have to support 4 living, breathing astronauts. On Artemis II, astronauts will check everything from its environmental systems to the food warmer and the toilet to ensure all is well for a trip to the moon. They'll also practice proximity operations with their Space Launch System upper stage for future docking operations on Artemis III and beyond. Once those checks are complete, on day 2 of the mission, the Artemis II crew will fire up Orion's engine for a trans-lunar injection. That's the maneuver that puts them on course not just for the moon, but also the trip home. That's because the Artemis II Orion will carry its astronauts on what NASA calls a free return trajectory, a path that will take about 4 days to reach the moon, then loop around the far side and return back to Earth for a splashdown in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of San Diego, California. The astronauts will travel up to 4,700 miles beyond the far side of the moon, farther than any human has ever flown in space. During their lunar flyby, they will take close photos of the lunar surface, observe parts of the far side never before seen by human eyes, and test radiation shelter techniques in the lunar environment. After traveling another few days home, the Artemis II astronauts will streak through Earth's atmosphere at about 25,000 miles per hour, or about Mach 32, protected by the world's largest heat shield ever built for an astronaut crew. They'll parachute to a splashdown in the Pacific, with a NASA recovery ship waiting nearby to pluck them from the sea. Artemis II brings astronauts back to deep space, and it's the first step towards returning to the moon, possibly for good. For Space.com, I'm Tariq Malik.
splashdown.com.